on that, what do you think of the whole Black Lives Matter thing?
I mean, like, we're kind of.
Now, on to those who say that they are our friends, only if we act the way they want us to act. Clinton's angry plantation master fit shows what I'm talking about, right? He said in that same speech that he loves the protesters. Of course he does, when the protests are aimed at Republicans. But what about those in our everyday lives or those online who aren't in power, yet have everything negative to say about protesters and various movements led by those who feel the sting of the societal whip daily? Yet these same people let whole systems of oppression off the hook.
Okay, because and I'm coming at it from having discussed this a lot with my husband, who is not white. He's he's from Puerto Rico. He's Hispanic, and so I was asking him when this whole Black Lives Matter thing first started coming up, and when they started doing their activism and everything, and I said, look, from your perspective, because I'm white, right? And I'd like to know, what your perspective is. And it's nice to actually have a husband who can give me that different perspective from a different culture, from a different, community that he grew up in, because he grew up in the Bronx in a predominantly Black, lower class area. And his response was actually quite interesting. He was like, I think that they're meaning well, but they're doing it fucking wrong. And he was saying you can't go around blaming people who didn't do anything for the atrocities of what happened in the past. And I agree. I might be white, but don't blame me for slavery. I wasn't there,
So I came across a video where neoconservative internet hack and YouTuber Christina Hansen, known on YouTube as Woolybumble, was interviewed in a Hangout on another YouTube channel, The Skeptic Feminist, and she used the words of her husband, who incidentally is a person of color, and in that part of the conversation, his take on a political action at Dartmouth College is seen as counterproductive, as it scared white kids, and the point of Black Lives Matter's work is to berate white people into recognizing the racist past. Woolybumble goes on to speak with authority of a people that she does not know or understand, and she has no reason to, which is cool with me, but it is the lies that must be exposed, because this is what reactionaries and bourgeois liberals do to suppress the aims and the activities of those who truly suffer the ruling class's system directly. And one way reactionaries and bourgeois liberals do this is to misrepresent the aims of the working class and the marginalized. First of all, Black Lives Matter did not form to browbeat supposed well-meaning white people and innocent bystanders for imagined racism or racism of the past. No, Black Lives Matter takes to the streets because people of color are being murdered by the police in the current present day. Black Lives Matter sought to disrupt businesses as usual to force the attention on present day cases of police brutality, because they rightfully see these current cases as normalized legal lynchings of the modern day. And they seek to bring the notion that you cannot hide murder of a human being by criminalizing them and the entire community these victims of state terror come from. So, Woolybumble props up the voice of her Gusano husband, Mr. Bumblebee, also known as Joel Mendez, as the voice of authority, judging the activism of other people of color who identify present-day racism as a real thing to delegitimize their politics and at the same time take police brutality off the hook for the benefit of an already racist reactionary audience that she panders to for views, and of course those views mean Google pennies.
But he's right though. You can't, and this is the thing, this goes for all sides. You can't appropriate someone else's success or someone else's pain from the past, and this Black Lives Matter thing, you can't blame all white people for what happened in the past. At some point you've got to leave the past in the past and, move on from there. And when they stormed into, I think it was a library, a bunch of Black Lives Matter protesters stormed into the library and they started harassing and almost abusing some poor white girl who was just there studying. She hadn't done anything. And I'm like, this isn't how you do activism, because you're not doing anything positive. All you're showing is that you're a bunch of thugs. Is that what you want to show the world? This isn't how it, I don't see how this is helping. If anything, it's making things worse. And then you've got campuses calling for Black only dormitories and Black only this. So what, you're advocating for segregation now?
Right.
So we have some random action that took place at Dartmouth College. And as with the course of hashtag activism and horizontal structure of movements such as Black Lives Matter and even Occupy Wall Street before it, you will get actions that might be sectarian in nature, and that it is only focused on what is happening in a particular locale, and that action will take up the character of those leading it. Typical of most campus-based protests, they can be sectarian by nature, not including people across generations and class lines, and therefore there might not be questions that arise as to why the subtle racism of a given college campus is the main focus and not broadened to include gentrification, police brutality, among other things. Some people who are Black Lives Matter activists might have had something to say to the younger folks at that action who allegedly berated the white students and made those white students scared, or then again, maybe not. Either way, the real analysis, however, would have been called for rather than regurgitating a story that only the right-wing online rags covered. The issue here is that what they did, quote unquote, wrong, as framed by Mr. Mendez, is to be mean and intimidating in their execution of this protest towards some innocent students in a nice, quiet library. And this sort of behavior exemplifies the overall work of what Black Lives Matter does. Good work, Christina, because all of that, of course, is a falsehood and it is a lie. That is not what Black Lives Matter was about. Both reactionaries and bourgeois liberals love to present the classic bad Indian versus good Indian when critiquing liberation movements. Just understand that when they do so, they are acting as the attack dogs for the ruling class, and that makes sense since they know which side their bread gets buttered on. I want to make one last note regarding the Bill Clinton footage and the Woolybumble footage, because they both did the same exact thing. In order to attack Black Lives Matter, they needed to attack the work that Black Lives Matter does, i.e., fighting against police brutality and raising consciousness of police brutality. And in order to do that, they had to basically criminalize their work. With Clinton's case, he made the work that we've seen from Black Lives Matter equal up to defending drug dealers and murderers. That's what he said. With Woolybumble, she basically just needed to use the word thug. We all know that that is a racist dog whistle. So understand that although I got a little heat earlier this month, I was accused of calling anyone who doesn't think like me, quote unquote, as right-wing reactionaries. Understand where that comes from. Here you have a Democratic centrist and some other one who's a label-less Politico. You could see where they're both on the same page here. They both needed to bury a truth, and that is the police are racist and they are killing black people, and black lives don't matter to them. So I guess that tells us where Black lives stand with the likes of Christina Hansen. Stay tuned for the conclusion of Deepening Fault Lines, how our enemies disguise their true faces by painting us as either regressives and making up myths such as cultural Marxism. Thank you. This is the Garage Autonomist.